Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to talk to you guys a little bit about something that came up today because I bumped into two different guys today who got their wives or girlfriends into lifting and how that worked out for them. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, do a little bit of crafting, and let's talk about this. Alright guys, so today I had to make kind of an emergency stop. One of my tires was low on air and I thought it might have a nail in it. And so I bumped into a manager there at the Discount Tire. I could tell he lifted, but I didn't talk to him immediately. Brittany and I went over and we ate at Denny's next door. And sure enough, we bumped into an older guy who actually was in really good shape. We thought he was in his late 40s, and I started chatting with him because he's sitting there telling the waitress that his grandchildren were going to be there in a minute. And I stopped and asked him, I'm like, bro, you lift. You got grandchildren and you're still lifting big, lean, everything else. And he's like, yeah, I'm actually like 63 years old. I was pretty shocked because the guy had fairly lean, about probably 17-inch arms. Was in good shape. You could tell that he lifted. He looked, better than the average 25-year-old at the gym. Was doing real good for himself. And he talked about he used to lift heavy, but he, just maintained and did high reps as he got older. But he had been lifting since he was in his teens. So lifelong fitness, and I started chatting with him, and apparently he got his girlfriend into lifting, who then later she had just done some bikini shows earlier that year, and she was older, not as old as him, but older. He showed pictures. She looked fantastic, and he had said, yeah, he got her into it, and it just kind of something they did together. And, it was interesting to hear that, because this was lifelong fitness, and then he got, his girl into it. And it was really working out for them, because it gave them something they enjoyed doing together. Well, we went back at the Discount Tire, started chatting with the guy because he was a pretty good sized guy. Looked more like a strength athlete, not really bodybuilder type. Same thing. He had played football when he was younger. Did like some charity stuff. So he still lifted a lot just for his fitness and health. And he did some charity stuff locally to where he helped some of the kids get ready to train, exercise, so they could go start playing football in a couple years. And he got his daughter involved, and she did all that. And he said, yeah, I got my wife into lifting. Because she knew that I lifted, I was really into it, and she just one day said, hey, I want to come learn with you. And so she did. She fell in with him and started training, and now she squats over 200 pounds while weighing something. I think he said she's about 120. So very, very strong. But he got her into serious strength training quite a few years ago. Again, something they enjoy doing together. They spend time together. They talk, and they just go train together, and they talk about whatever's on their mind. And it's something they do as a couple as part of their lifestyle. And it made me come to a realization of what I've been telling guys in the past. There's this whole idea, I want to go get a girl who lifts. And I always tell guys, that's not necessarily a good idea. You're a lot better to get the girl that you're interested in into lifting. All right, because when you say, I'm going to go get with a girl who lifts, oftentimes, again, that's sometimes the shallow guys who have nothing else to offer other than they lift. That's your whole life. You see that a lot with some guys. Not always true. But oftentimes, but the thing is, what you find with girls who lift already, they oftentimes already have their habits, oftentimes bad habits, their bro stuff, whatever crazy nonsense they believe and follow. When you try to discuss with them sometimes when early in a relationship with them, all right, they're already serious about their lifting, their training, whatever it is they do. When you start discussing with them changing it, it doesn't go well. All right, they're not going to want to hear what you have to say on it. Even if you know more, and once they get caught up in all this bro nonsense and honestly believe they've got to have a post-workout shake, and they have to have this sort of split, that sort of split, they've got to have this supplement, that, or they follow this special restrictive diet, what you're going to find, they're not going to want to hear you criticize them on it. In fact, when you do, you start dating a girl who's a lifter already, a lifting chick, fitness chick, whatever. When you start discussing that with them, there's going to be your very first major fight. That's going to be the first fight in your relationship. Furthermore, these chicks who are all the fitness chicks who lift, they have a whole group of dudes chasing them all the time. So the ironic thing is that they oftentimes are not always a good match for guys who already lift, particularly if you're listening here and you're serious about learning to do things the correct way, looking at scientific approaches to doing things, understanding stuff a little bit better, lifelong fitness instead of the bro bodybuilding type end of things. You're going to struggle with this because they will, like most young men out there, will have fallen into this trendy stuff. One of the trends of one type or another. And they are oftentimes going to be set in their ways. You are going to have conflicts over this because someone's going to have to compromise you, or there's going to be an issue eventually. There will be an issue, you know. Especially when you don't validate their post-workout shake or whatever, and you say, well, you know, I mean, I know that that's not necessary. It's not even helpful. I don't want a fart powder. Again, they might take it personal and they religiously believe that you need one. All right, you're looking at a lot of potential conflicts, a lot of problems. You go to work out with them, you're following a well-rounded, well-written program of some type, and they want to do a bro split. You're not going to be able to train together because the magazines and all these fitness chicks and everything else tell them that they need a leg day and a chest day and an arm day and whatever else, and you're over here doing a push-pull or a full body. You're not going to be able to necessarily train with them. So even though you're like, oh, that'll be awesome, I'll have a chick who lifts, you're going to be fighting off other dudes for her, first of all. You're going to be fighting over it because there's already going to be a line of dudes who obsess over getting a chick who lifts. Then when you get with them, if you get with them, you're going to deal with this conflict. You're not really going to be able to train with them unless someone completely adapts what they do. Someone's going to end up changing their habits. There's going to be problems there unless you guys kind of have the same style of training. Lifting is not all the same. This runs into conflicts. What you're better off doing, generally, is finding a girl who you just genuinely like, who you have other things in common with, who you get along with. All right, who maybe has some interest in fitness but doesn't know a lot about it, or you know, maybe has trained and stuff in the past, never got back into it, or maybe they just very, very casually train. All right, but what you see with a lot of the guys I know who have very successful long-term relationships that are lifting couples that lift together, oftentimes they got her into lifting, or in some cases she got him into lifting. But it's something that they pick up naturally because they see you do, they see that you enjoy, that it's a part of your lifestyle, and once they get with you when you already have other things in common, they kind of will gravitate in that direction oftentimes. They'll say, well, hey, I want to lift and be healthy and fit too. My man's doing it, I want to do it too. That's usually where you see the best crossovers. And then, rather than having to break bad habits they have and get in arguments about bad habits or things they believe that are just bro lore or untrue, you don't have to deal with any of that. What you're dealing with is someone who you already are compatible with, who wants to learn in that area and add that to their lifestyle. At which point you can simply teach them. You can teach them, and then they'll do their own research and reading too as you go. You can kind of teach them what you know, help them along, and you will end up being very compatible in your outlook as far as training, nutrition, things like that go. You'll be very, very compatible in that regard because it'll be one person who knows more than the other in that area who kind of guides the other along to help them, and then they'll come into their own eventually. And I have heard of this happening the other direction, by the way, where it's the actual girl who knows more than they do and they get their dude into lifting. That does happen on occasion too. But generally it works better unless you're both into the hardcore bodybuilding scene. That's the exception. The chicks and the guys who are both into the hardcore bodybuilding scene and believe all the same stuff, use gear, believe in bro splits, believe that they've got to have post-workout nutrition, chicken and brown rice 6 times a day, they'll be fine because they follow all the same dogma. But if you don't follow any of the dogmatic stuff, you got to remember a big chunk of the serious lifters you meet will. And again, like I said, you're probably going to do better with, like a lot of these guys have done, if they get a girl who they just genuinely like. And you actually have a genuine relationship. You're not getting with them because you both like lifting. Because, again, that's a really superficial thing and more problematic than you might realize. And you just kind of let them lead by example. And then they want to get involved in fitness and lifting and everything else. And it's not unnatural for someone to want to do so. Because if they have a partner who's in shape and they like that about them, they're going to start thinking in those terms also. And it doesn't matter whether you're a girl or a guy, really. You're going to start thinking, well, maybe I should get into shape too, because, you know, the person I'm with is in shape. That can create either insecurities in some cases, in which case they'll want to do it, or it'll create genuine interest. Just a genuine interest of, well, that's pretty cool. I want to be fit and healthy too. I want to be with someone. I don't want to die young of heart disease and diabetes and stuff either. If I'm going to be with someone who's going to be healthy, maybe I'll give it a go. And that generally works a lot better. And that's exactly what I saw with these guys, and that's what I've seen in the past with other people. You're better off doing that. Chasing girls who lift already isn't always the best approach. And I'm not saying if you meet one who you're really compatible with who lifts already, I'm not saying, oh, don't date her because she lifts already. So please don't think I'm saying that. But what I'm saying is you shouldn't be seeking them out because they lift. Oh man, I want a fitness chick. Well, you might not really want a fitness chick. It might not be all it's cracked up to be. And if that's what originally attracted you to them, instead of their other traits, their personality, looks, everything else, the whole combination, it might not be all it's cracked up to be. And like I said, when you don't mix well with them, you know what? There's 37 other dudes who are serious about their lifting who are right there ready to take her off your hands, who she'll be more than happy to gravitate to sometimes, because you see a lot of that in those circles. I've seen that happen a lot. So in the end, I think the best approach for guys is exactly what these guys did. Get involved with someone you love, who you're genuinely interested in as a person, and they will eventually gravitate towards your fitness and lifting lifestyle on their own, because that's what couples tend to do who are in a really good relationship and who love each other, and they'll tend to gravitate in that direction anyway when they realize that it's not just a hobby, that it's actually a lifestyle for you and that it could improve their life as well. Oftentimes they'll come around. They might not get into it as much as you do, but they will come around, and then it will give you something that you genuinely both enjoy doing together, that can be beneficial to both of you and to your relationship. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.